Recovery is stupendous.
Achievable.
Hope.
Freedom.
Empowering.
It's unique to everyone.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Getting a new lease on life.
It's finding restoration after you fall down.
Recovery is having the freedom to enjoy life.
For me, it was finding a way to really love myself.
My recovery is possible in part because of my own sense of purpose.
Welcome to Recovery Talks Facebook Live event. Thanks for joining us. My name is Bill Devo, recovery coach at Montana's Peer Network, and I'm joined by...
I'm Ashley McLean. I'm the recovery coach supervisor for Montana's Peer Network.
Well, thanks for joining me today. Today's topic will be overcoming fear in recovery. When I was thinking about this topic, I went all the way back to, I think I was in jail and I was getting sentenced and I was learning that I was going to be court ordered to treatment. And I feared that. I was like, I don't want to face this. I'm comfortable where I am. What else is going to come up? I was insecure and I didn't know really how I was going to move forward. I did know, however, that I wasn't going to have a choice. I was going to be court ordered. So that alleviated some fear, but I still had fear of the unknown, of what I was going to find out, what more I was going to have to do. So that was fearful for me. Where did fear start for you, Ashley?
Where did it start for me? That's a great question because I really can't pinpoint a point in my life where like I felt like I didn't have fear and then I was like, kind of overcome with fear, right? Like, there was no like deciding point for me. Where I think back to just my life up to this point, and I always had fear. I always had some level of fear in my life. And I realize now that the behaviors that I did that kind of launched me into being a person in recovery today was all fear-based. Every coping mechanism, every survival technique that I had in my illness was fear-based, and they were unhealthy. They were unhealthy coping mechanisms that really were trying to alleviate these fears that I had inside. And hindsight always is 20/20, but like I know that's what was going on now. And at the time, it was just like the solution to fear. These bad behaviors or unhealthy behaviors. I don't want to say bad. They were just unhealthy.
When I go back through that and look back at my recovery and kind of where it started, I'll try and figure out how to explain this so that it's understood. But fear for me was acceptance. I had a fear of accepting my mental health diagnosis. I had a fear of working on that because I didn't know what that was going to mean. I didn't know where I would end up. And that was really, 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 really hard for me to come to terms and accept because of so much fear that I had of the unknown. I had shame and guilt associated with acceptance of a diagnosis. I had fear of thinking that if I accepted the diagnosis that I was given, that I would be limited to what I got to do in life. And so I fought that for a while. No, this can't be true. I can't be diagnosed with that. Overcoming that fear to be able to accept a diagnosis was probably the first fear that actually launched me to be able to start my recovery journey. So I don't like talking about that particular aspect of fear But there's, of course, lots of other fears that I had to overcome once my recovery journey started.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as probably, I don't know, my first year in my chosen recovery path today. I was probably a year into that, and my dad got me this plaque. Well, it was a picture, and it was of John Wayne, and it said on it, it says, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway." I had that above my door, so each day I left, I would read this quote by John Wayne that said, you know, courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. And I would leave the house and I would read that. And, you know, that's one thing that I've realized in my recovery is it's not going to be absent of fear, right? It's just, what do I do with that? What do I do with that fear? How do I overcome it? And for me, faith, right? And I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm talking about faith that it's going to be okay. Faith that if I just put that one foot in front of the other and do the next indicated thing, that it is going to be okay, and having the courage to do that, and having faith that, you know, I'm doing this, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to succeed in that next step. And that's really to simplify that overcoming of fear in the beginning, right? It's definitely evolved. You know, my fears have evolved, and so has the way that I overcome them today has evolved. But, you know, since I'm on the kick of quotes, I was reading some stuff before this Facebook Live, and I came across this one and I loved it. It says, "Fear is nothing more than an obstacle that stands in the way of progress. In overcoming our fears, we can move forward, stronger and wiser within ourselves." So that journey of overcoming fears is an inside job, right? No outside entity can help me overcome my fears. It's an inside job. And if I take suggestions from these outside entities, I feel it within myself.
So going along my journey in recovery, there's a lot of fear all along the way. And I was trying to think about how I overcame a lot of those fears. And one of the ways that for me, I overcame fear of going to 12-step meetings because I was court ordered to do those things is I just took it a little at a time, meaning that I would go to what was required, I would sit in the room, and I wouldn't talk. However, over time, as I became accustomed to going to those meetings, then after the meetings, maybe I'd open up a little bit. But for me, overcoming fear happened gradually. I didn't overwhelm myself and try and do too much at once. I wanted to learn and be comfortable, and I put one thing on my plate at a time so that one thing became normal. It was just the way that it was. And then I would add an additional thing to my plate until I integrated myself into that type of atmosphere. Today, fear comes in many different ways, and I deal with it differently, and it happens a little more quickly today than in my early recovery. I have a lot of different tools today that I'm able to navigate fear in a way that doesn't become crippling. I have a support team. I have more confidence in myself. What Ashley was talking about was having faith, and that courage is something that over time grows. And as you walk through each fear in your life on your journey in recovery, that faith grows in a way where you know that it is an opportunity for growth, and you do have faith that you'll get through it. and you do know that how you feel is temporary. So I just thought I would add that to it.
It's been really cool, like over my recovery journey to like kind of have this process of like I have this emotion, right? Like I'm feeling angry, right? And it's like, okay, so I can walk that back. Okay, like you're angry, but really I like ask myself these questions, and this is not something that I came up with on my own. This is other supports in my life helping me, guiding me to be able to have the, know what questions to ask. And really any emotion that I'm feeling is, what are you scared of, right? If it's a negative emotion, it really comes back to, what are you scared of? When I can pinpoint what I'm actually scared of, I have a really good insight in how I can overcome it. So I'm angry and I was embarrassed, right? Like my feelings got hurt. And really, like when I break that down, it's really, I'm scared of, I have fear of not being liked or not succeeding or failing, like all of these things in my life. And then how I overcome that is to kind of just ground myself and talk to myself in a positive way, not talk to myself negatively, and have this belief, and this is how I get through it. It can be different for everybody. This is not the only way, but like just telling myself, this is exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. And I say that over and over in my head, and it kind of takes some of the power out of those fears. So for me, talking about it, talking to myself positively, and believing that it is the way it's supposed to be at this moment, fears kind of go away. I'm not impacted by them so negatively anymore. And I have healthy fears too today. That's one thing that I didn't even think was possible, to have a healthy fear of something that motivates me to these positive things in my life. And the beginning of my recovery, I had a healthy fear of the failure of not staying on this path, and that was a motivator for me to continue, because I was scared of going back to the life I had just come from. And to me, that was a very healthy fear to have.
I remember one of the things that my wife's dad would say about fear is being afraid that you're not going to get what you want or losing something that you already have. And I've used that when fear has come into my life to be able to put that fear in perspective and put it in its rightful place. I think that sometimes for me, if I fear something and I allow it to fester, I make it out to be something that it really isn't. And so if I use that saying and put it into some perspective, I'm able to attack it a little bit differently. And then I'm also able to check my motives with that fear, which is something that I have to do on a regular basis, is check my motives on things. And so I like how you mentioned having healthy fear, because it really allows us to be able to put things into perspective and puts a check and balance in our lives so that we can maintain the recovery that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm on a quote kick. I hated the quotes in the beginning, right? I was just like, whatever, these are so cliched. Blah, blah, blah. But today I'm like, I love them. Like I have a quote on my chalkboard right now I'm looking at. But the fear acronym, we're in behavioral health, and we live in acronyms. And so like you have two choices in fear, and it's forget everything and run, right? or you can face everything and rise or recover. You know, those are some things that I've heard along the way that kind of ring true in my life today. And today I choose to face everything and recover.
I wish I could say that I did that perfectly, but sometimes it takes me a minute and I live in that fear, and then my behavior changes, and then those around me are affected. And that's why I'm so grateful that I have a recovery support team, people that will go, hey, what's going on? And one of the ways, or the main ways that I overcome my fear, is having a healthy support around me. And the other thing is I have to be honest with myself. And if I'm not allowing myself to be honest, and I allow my ego to get in the way, it just complicates things so much. Today, I'm grateful that I can recognize fear, and then I have the ability and the tools, if I choose to use them, to overcome fear. And it comes in many different ways. It doesn't always have to be recovery oriented. My son had to have open heart surgery, and there was a lot of fear there. And I tell you what, faith that Ashley was talking about got me through that. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going to happen. It's open heart surgery. There's a lot of what ifs that can happen in that. But I had a support team, and I had people that were on my side to help me get through the fear that there was nothing I could do about that fear. It's my kid. He's having open heart surgery. There's going to be a lot of fear there. But it didn't cripple me. I stayed on my recovery routine. I did the things that I had to do to stay focused. I continued to go to work. I didn't allow that piece to cripple me and clam up. And because of that, my faith has grown. And so the next fear that comes along doesn't have as big a grip on me as the previous fear did.
Yeah. So it looks like one of our listeners put their favorite quote about fear. Since we're doing the quote thing today, I love that you guys are engaging with this. Do the thing that you are afraid to do, and death of fear is certain. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, having the courage to do the thing you're afraid to do. And that's, I feel like that's recovery. Like each step we take is into the unknown, right? And like I know what that pre-recovery life looks like, like I know that's not unknown to me. I can, tell you about it till I'm blue in the face about what that, and recovery is like each day it's something completely new and unknown, and it's actually really beautiful. And I love that. It's a great quote. Thank you guys for tuning in today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I got to learn and grow, and I also got to overcome some fears. And so thanks for being a part of it. I really appreciate it.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works, recovery is possible.
Recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.
Recovery works.
And recovery is possible.
Recovery works and recovery is possible.